Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to the second episode for this season of Top Tier Talk. We're going to be talking all things football over the weekend, so let's start on Friday. Nottingham Forest getting a late winner from Chris Wood. Nottingham Forest 2, Sheffield United 1. Chavez, any thoughts on the game, or just a quick word?
Quick word, I'm disappointed Elanga didn't start. I thought he did enough after his little cameo. I expect him to start at Old Trafford, especially the state of our defence and just midfield right now. But yeah, Forest look good. It's not the biggest shock that they won, especially considering they actually gave Arsenal a game last week. And that striker looks really good. Awin Nee, I think is how you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
He's kind of built for the Premier League, the way he is physically, and he's actually quite quick. For a big man, he's quite quick.
Yeah.
So he's good.
I'll touch on Sheffield United side of things. They signed Gus Hamer. Any avid Championship or Coventry fans, I rate him quite highly. So do a lot of other Championship fans, and he scored in his Premier League debut. So well done to him, really. But I'm guessing, obviously, a lot of Premier League fans wouldn't have seen him last season, apart from in the playoffs if they watched them. But he's consistent, and I don't think they paid a lot. I can't remember how much they paid for him. I can potentially have a quick look now, but it was a good signing. Player profile. Here we go.
I think Sheffield are going the wrong way with. Maybe he's a good player, but didn't they sold a couple of players as well.
Yeah, but it says his market value is 8.4 million. I don't know I can't remember how much they paid for him, but if it was around the 8 million mark, then what a signing that is. But yeah, from a midfielder point of view, he was getting like a goal every 6 games in the Championship or for Coventry for 3 years, so across obviously the leagues, which isn't a bad return for a midfielder. But yeah,
I don't think I've ever heard goals being put that way. A goal every 6 games in the positive light. I know he's a midfielder.
Oh yeah, as a midfielder, yeah. But
wouldn't you be looking at other things like passing?
It was there. It was
possession.
There. But he passes the eye test for me anyway. But on Friday night as well, we had Werder Bremen 0, Bayern Munich 4. Usually we don't talk about other leagues, but Harry Kane getting a goal and an assist on his debut. Well, I say his Bundesliga debut because he had one game and lost, as we touched on last week. But yeah, got off to a good start. So you can really ask for in it. 3 points.
No trophy on the line. No trophy on the line.
Yeah, he performed.
No trophy on the line. Kane might be the greatest striker of all time.
But yeah, so that sums up Friday. Moving on to Saturday. Before we start recording, Chavez said there was no early kickoff, but it was in the Football League. But we'll just skip past that. Brentford. Liverpool. I was going to touch on Brentford. On the day of recording, his Ivan Toney's interview came out. Is that Stephen Bartlett, the Diary of a CEO? I don't know if you've watched it or not. No. I watched a bit of it, but obviously Toney isn't really needed at Brentford as it stands. They've scored a fair chunk of goals. And then Buemo's taking that striker spot, who I unfortunately benched on FPL, which is a massive mistake on my behalf. But yeah, as you said, Liverpool went 1-0 down quite early on. And then, won 3-1. So anything you've got to say on that game?
I despise Liverpool Football Club more than certain organisations in this world. But that was not a penalty. That was not a red card for McAllister. If that's a red card, we've got to revise the rules again. And there's a lot of red cards that could be given out. Classic inconsistency, second week of the Premier League. And this is, by the way, not even to do with my club. So you can only imagine how pissed off I'm going to be when I start talking about that game. But aside from that, Trent played midfield. I heard he wasn't really as controlling as he should be as a midfielder. I think maybe right back is the right place for him. And yeah, aside from that, Luis Diaz is probably Liverpool's best player aside from Salah right now. He's probably, because he's been there for a while now as well. It's good to see him get on the score sheet for 2 weeks running now.
Yeah, I'll touch on my outrageous start. Prediction for the start of the season with Darwin getting 15 goals. He hasn't started a game yet.
How's that going?
Yeah, he hasn't started a game yet. So, but there's still 30.
Will he get 15 minutes?
I hope so, because he is in my FPL team. He hasn't had
15 minutes, has he?
He is in my FPL team.
The whole world loves Darwin Núñez, and I don't exactly know why. So we're all behind him.
I think the issue is, as a striker, I touched on it briefly. But yeah, the issue, for example, if your striker's not getting shots away or not getting chances, that's a worry. He just needs to find his shooting boots, because he has so many chances, and it's a meme, almost like Timo Werner. He had that spell when he scored a few goals for Chelsea. One in the he scored was it a brace against Madrid in the semis or something like that, or was it he scored one? But it's like he went on a run of games where he scored a few goals and then went dry again. It's more concerning if your striker or your attackers aren't having shots. He's getting shots, he's just not scoring. So eventually, when he finds his shooting boots, for the sake of my prediction at the start of the season and my FPL team, I hope he goes on a run of scoring goals. The next game in the list would have been Luton against Burnley, so I'm just going to get my weekly digging at Luton after they lost. Yes, they're a Premier League team, but don't want to hear it, Chavez. They had months to prepare their stadium, and it's still not ready. So,
shout out to the construction workers who are in Luton, working really hard.
Yeah, surely that should be an instant loss if you can't play at your stadium, but cheers, FA. Moving on to Wolves 1, Brighton 4. Brighton again, 2 from 2. That's 2-4-1 results, isn't it? It's 2-4-1s. Am I correct in thinking that?
I think so. They've definitely scored 4 twice.
Yeah.
2-4-1s.
So great start for Brighton. Great start for the season under De Zerbi. Their new signings seem to be playing well, and same as obviously losing Caicedo and stuff. We'll get onto his debut in a little while, but same as Southampton had that spell about sort of 5-10 years ago. They had Van Dijk and they sold Van Dijk, or got rid of like Mane. They got in players, built them up, sold them for profit, and they'd still find people from anywhere and not really have a massive dip in form. Brighton seem to be doing well, even towards obviously the tail end of last season.
They've got Enciso now. They've just Solly March is playing well. Solly March is underrated last season because Brighton have so many good players. People forget that Solly March actually had a really good season last season, and he's carried it on again. I mean, what I look at with Brighton is that, for starters, Chelsea's number 3 right now. Sorry, Brighton's number 2 or number 3 goalkeeper is starting for Chelsea. Evan Ferguson doesn't start for Brighton. He would start for Man United. So they've actually got some really interesting players in their team that I'm impressed. And the thing is, the worrying thing as a Man United fan watching it is that De Zerbi, he's not needed that long to implement his style of football. Like, we don't actually care about his results. His results are good. He scores. His teams win games emphatically, but they play well. They have an actual DNA, a type of football that they consistently produce. I think they had one off week last season where they got battered by Everton. It was like 4-0. Aside from that, they've just produced like the exact same football every week, so it's great to see. It worries me though, as like a fan.
But as you said, they just not every week's obviously going to be a 4-1. But you touched on last season with the Everton game. But it wouldn't have been too far before or after, like between that game, where they ground out and they beat you in injury time, didn't they? Yes, it was a penalty, but they still ground out at 3 points, which in theory probably helped them massively to get into the position they were in to come the end of the season. So it doesn't matter whether you win 1-0 or 4-1, you still get 3 points. Obviously, goal difference comes into it. But a team that knows how to win games is a team that knows how to win games. And under De Zerbi and Potter, even towards the end of his spell there before he left and went to Chelsea, they can do it. But yeah, you touched on obviously their attack or their players. No disrespect to their defence or whatever else, but Estupiñán, a former Watford player, may I add,
brilliant.
Just chuck it, goal and an assist from left back.
I mean, he's better than Cucurella, and look how much Cucurella costs. It's just worrying. I don't know who their scouts are, but they deserve a pay rise.
Obviously, what is it, 63 million for Cucurella?
Something like that.
I'm pretty sure they signed Estupiñán from us for around the 20 million mark.
Brilliant. He's going to go for more. Which is depends on how old he is.
He's young. He's young 20s, I think, 25.
That's bad.
They
will eventually be sold.
No disrespect to their defence, but as you said, they've got Ferguson, who you bang on about. They've got Pedro, who I bang on about. But their starting 4 was Mitoma, March, Enciso, and Welbeck. The fact that Danny Welbeck is still starting in 2023 as a 32-year-old, starting, as you said, in front of the other two,
he's clearly a very good manager, because I mean, some managers would have a type of Evan Ferguson type of talent, and they would just start playing them week in, week out. And he's managing him really well, I think. Yeah. If Ferguson gets a chance here or there, it's good. He's a really good manager. Nothing bad to say about him.
Again, it was an FPL thing, but obviously with Pedro, it came up on my Twitter timeline. A Brighton reporter said that De Zerbi came out, hence why Pedro didn't start. And he said that he didn't start him because he needs to learn how to defend and essentially play as a team player. And it's, as you said, if you throw players in, whether it's Ferguson or Pedro, as a young head, they're going to want to score goals as a striker, but they're not going to play as a team. But as you said, like he's got his team. The team plays for each other. They're all set up. So, as you said, no faults with the manager. All the setup, it's all at Brighton.
I mean, you'd have to ask the question after seeing these 2 game weeks, where do Brighton finish the season? They're going about.
I saw on Twitter a potential title charge for a Brighton fan. Obviously, it's a joke, but you could be looking at top 6 again if they carry this on.
I mean, it's different now, isn't it? It's a top seven because of Europa League,
Yeah,
set 5 and 6 and 7. Imagine if they could steal that fifth spot. It would
yeah.
be great for football, great advert for the Premier League.
I suppose if we go chronologically, next up is Tottenham 2, Man United 0. Do you want to touch
No,
on that,
it's
or do you
not.
want to leave?
Man City 1-0 Newcastle. Oh, no, no, you're right. It is. It is
Yes.
us.
Are you
Damn it.
trying?
I was trying to avoid it.
Are you trying to skip it?
Yeah.
Should we talk about it at the end?
I just don't want to talk about it, but no, I will talk about it. So, yeah, we didn't actually start the game too badly, create some chances. We're pretty much like expected Potter these days. We always seem to underperform our XG. We've created the third best XG in the league, third most chances in the league behind Brighton and Newcastle. And what do we have to show for it? One goal from a centre back from across. We're not very. I don't know what's going
Good.
wrong with this club. And by the way, for the first time, I'm going to criticize Ten Hag because, as a common viewer of football, there are some things I'm starting to see that I don't understand. For example, Sancho was deployed as a striker throughout preseason, and he has had the opportunity to do that with Sancho, even off the bench. When Sancho comes on, he is playing him left wing and keeping Rashford striker, which I don't understand. Rashford played most of last season left wing and seems to be much better there. So that's something that's gone over my head. The other thing was the Mason Mount signing is now very interesting because I understand Ten Hag wanted to make us the best transition team in the world, but I think he's gone away from the original project, which was to be, a ball retention type team. I don't know. It might still work. This trio in midfield. People are writing it off already, which is totally understandable because we've been played off the park by Wolves and now Spurs. But aside from that, another player. I also don't like Ten Hag's stubbornness. He's very stubborn because he's now got the opportunity to make some changes. He could have done it in this game, but he didn't. Now he really can make changes for Forest. It's only Forest at home. Forest are good, but it's at home. He needs to start removing some of his favourites when they don't play well. For example, Anthony. I've never seen Pellistri come on and put a bad performance in. Start him if you need to. If not, play Sancho on the right. I know, like, it's just a case of there has to be some accountability for having a bad performance from some players. And it looks like it's not happening. So hopefully he can do it for this Forest game. Because if all he does, which I think he will, is he'll change Garnacho and put Sancho in, that's not enough for me. That's not enough of a punishment for that absolute poor performance.
But as you said, a lot we touched on. Obviously, you need a striker. Obviously, you've got him, but he's injured. Obviously, with your XG and stuff, I know you can't just rely on. Like for
It's just
example,
adding more pressure. I said Hoyland, there's too much pressure on the
this
kid
is
to
what I
score
was going to
20
say.
goals.
For
Now
example,
it's even more.
you look at, as we touched on with Brighton, their left back scoring, their wingers are scoring, their strikers scoring. It's not coming from the out and out striker. Or as you said with
Yeah.
Liverpool, they've got 4 or 5 attacking players. Whether it's Salah, Nunes will eventually score a goal, hopefully. Like Diaz, Gakpo will eventually start chipping in and stuff, but obviously further players back as well. Whereas you, it's like you haven't got your striker yet because he's not fit. You're getting the chances, you're getting, as you said, the XG, but you're not putting the ball in the back of the net. So you've got one goal to show, and it was poor defending from Wolves' behalf when it was a free header from what 5 yards out, 6 yards out.
Literally, yeah.
So if he would have missed, it would have been a war crime. So it's.
I mean, to be fair, on another day, if we actually finish our chances, we don't even get to that shit show of a second half performance. But that's what happens when Bruno misses a chance like that. When Anthony hits the post, this is how you get punished in football. Also, the referees played a part, unfortunately. Again, don't want to spend too long on them because it was our fault this game. But at the same time, we could have had about 3 penalties in that game. One of them for me was absolutely 100% a penalty by the rules, with the whole opening up your body and preventing a goal with your hand. I don't know the rules anymore. It really did feel like it was almost a response to last week when they made a mistake, so they didn't give it this week. And yeah, interesting to see. It's classic Premier League referees. What can you expect?
You should just something basically just going on as we say every week with the referees. There's no point waffling on about it because it's just the same words coming out of our mouth.
It's boring.
Every other footballing podcast, every other footballing TV show, and it's just the same every week. So sort it out. Moving on to the game that you thought was next because you forgot your team played at the weekend. Man City 1, Newcastle 0, the better side of Manchester. Newcastle didn't off. They had a couple of chances where it was like a 3-on-1, and was it Wilson just got tackled by Gvardiol, but City were in control for the majority of the game. If they needed to turn it up and score because Newcastle had equalised or would have gone ahead, they would have. I think tiredness may have been a factor, but I also don't think it should. Like, they complain that they're playing too close together and they've got to fly to different countries. They're going to be going from the stadium on the team coach directly to the aeroplane. They haven't got to wait around in these lounges or whatever. They'll be getting straight on the aeroplane, potentially 2, because it's got to be big enough for the whole squad. They'll be in better than first class, flying straight back to Manchester, straight to the team hotel. They haven't got to wait around. There's no stress, so it shouldn't be playing a massive part, especially for a squad as big and as good as City's. They should have the players to rotate. I don't think Pep made any subs, did he, or
No,
changes?
didn't have to. I don't think he's made a sub yet this season in the 2 games.
Exactly.
But on that game, Foden was brilliant. If Haaland doesn't score, what I find interesting is even in a team like Man City that have such a prominent target man, he didn't score in that game, and guess what? They had another player who could do it.
Yeah.
And Alvarez is just like brilliant, and I'm glad to see he's starting because I did say that it's interesting that he doesn't start for Man City because at any other club this guy is starting, and you can even add Tottenham to that list. That was always the one club where you'd be like, ex striker would start for every club except Tottenham, but now even Tottenham.
Yeah.
He will start for them. So it's good to see him play. Foden, brilliant.
I was going to say.
Foden, yeah, he's got a pedigree, hasn't he? In the sense that he doesn't have week in, week out like brilliant performances
But
like
you
Saka.
know what you're going to get.
And he's at the biggest stage. He's done it more than Saka. He's played in Champions League knockout games at this point, and he's performed at a lot of different stages. Obviously not as consistently, but when it mattered, he did. So right now, again, I would still say Foden is a better player than Saka, also technically. However, we will see what Saka does in the Champions League this season. We're going to get to see him in the Champions League for the first time.
Foden is still only 23 years old. So
yeah, he's young.
He's the same age as us. So congratulations, Phil. I suppose we'll carry on with the Premier League. We were at 3 o'clock on Saturday, but Stoke 1, Watford 0 sounds about as exciting as it actually was. As I said, by player ratings, they had a chance and scored it. We didn't. We need I said this every week. We need a striker. But yeah, the fact that Ismail got booed down the tunnel by some fans is appalling. We want a culture change. We're 3 games in. We've kept 2 clean sheets and got 4 points. There's not much more.
Wait, your manager?
Yeah, apparently some.
Your fans are so strange.
Apparently there was like some there's always idiots and stuff. But yeah, the fact that he's actually, I know we lost and it wasn't a brilliant game, but it's the whole meme in football that can you do it in Stoke? I know it wasn't a wet, windy night on a Wednesday or whatever, but. No, but like, it's actually nice to see some sort of, as you said about Brighton, they've got an identity and a DNA. And I'm not saying obviously we're at that level. Obviously, we're nowhere near.
Yeah.
But our passes are actually going to our team, like the teammates, and it's actually nice to see.
Standards are on the floor.
Yeah, though the only worry is I said we have a striker. We need a striker. Sorry, because Bayo, Healy's just come back from an ACL injury. It's his second ACL, and he's still quite young, so that's not always a good thing. But yeah, we haven't scored in a game and a half now. We haven't scored since the opening day, at 42nd minute against QPR, which was the 4th goal, may I add. So to score 4 in 40 minutes and then not score for a game and a half. But yeah, I suppose it's football really. But Sunday you will see what I'm on about, Chavez.
Yeah, can't wait. Going to be at the Watford Blackburn game. I was speaking to one of my friends who was saying like, can't wait for Kevin Nolan and Morgan Gamps Pedersen masterclass. All 15 years old. Those players. That was the Blackburn we knew on Match Tax.
Knew and loved. Moving on to Sunday's fixtures. Sean Dyche. I don't know how much of his job he's got left or time he's got left. Sorry, but Aston Villa 4, Everton 0. They got torn apart. And I don't know who took the throw in. I'm guessing it was their. I don't know. It was on their left side. And they threw it back to Michael Keane, who did have a disaster class, but it wasn't his fault. That John Duran nicked in front of him and just scored the 4th. It just summed up Everton on the day.
I did say last week because a lot of people wrote Newcastle off based on one game in which Newcastle did beat them quite comfortably, but Villa played well in parts. And look at that, just won 4-0. I know Everton might probably end up with probably the lowest points in history at this rate they're going at, but I'm sure they'll pick up. The way they're going, they've been poor. But yeah, Villa are not bad at all. Diaby looks like a really good signing.
Yeah.
And
Bailey as well. Bailey had a good game.
Bailey's now playing more. He wasn't really playing much last season. So yeah, good to see.
Yeah, as we touched on with, like, it's every side needs a DNA. Same as we said with Brighton, but it's going to be a challenge. We touched on earlier. It's going to be a challenge, obviously, when Europe rolls around. Do Villa have a big enough squad or enough quality in the squad to play Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, and then Saturday, like continuously? Because obviously they're going to be an English team in a European competition, obviously, especially like the Conference League and stuff, or like the Europa League. They're going to be hoping to go quite far because the revenue that you get from the Premier League, you should be able to compete in these other like other European competitions. Champions League will be slightly different because obviously you get your Bayerns and your Reals and your Barcas, depending on where they finish in the league. But West Ham won the Conference League last year, and they didn't particularly play well in the league. So
It's doable.
it's doable. Um, yeah, the final game of the weekend in the Premier League, because Arsenal hasn't kicked
It's
off
the
yet.
favourite part.
As you can see, or if you are listening, you haven't heard his voice. He has run off. He's on holiday. West Ham 3, Chelsea 1. We would usually hand over
Tactical
to Amir
holiday.
at this point. Tactical holiday by Amir. Would usually pass over to him, but we're not. So I'll start. James Ward-Prowse, what a man. Every week we praise his set piece ability and dead balls. He's
the
amazing. He has never put in a bad cross or a bad free kick in his life.
Well, would you say James Ward-Prowse is the best dead ball set piece taker in world football right now? Who's better than him?
There's got to be someone, surely, in like the lower.
I mean, you could argue Messi, but he's in America.
Yeah, American tax.
American tax. Yeah.
Certainly in the league. Certainly in the league.
In the Premier League, I think he is the best. And then in the world, I mean, I remember Çalhanoğlu. He used to be good. I don't know where he's at, but yeah, it would just be Messi's the only real competition.
Yeah, watched him obviously a couple of times when he's come down to Watford and stuff. But even watching him on TV, as soon as he hit that ball to the back post and Agard was just right, you knew it was a goal. There was, and he got 2 assists as well. And he got the assist for Antonio's goal, was it?
I think so, yeah. Well, that was all Antonio. That came from nowhere.
It was a great touch. Yeah, great touch and a great strike. Enzo obviously missing a penalty. Caicedo giving away a penalty. So Chelsea's £200 million pivot is currently in the mud.
Sanchez being dodgy, goalkeeper.
So
I mean, I would say Enzo. I really feel bad for him because I know like people that didn't watch the game will go in on him for missing a penalty. I don't, for starters, think he should be the penalty taker. He's not really a penalty taker, but he's actually. He's the designated penalty taker for Chelsea right now, which is weird. I think maybe Sterling or someone else. I know they've lost Jorginho. But aside from that, he plays well. He just missed a penalty. Yeah. Caicedo, on the other hand, it's up there. It's up there with one of the worst debuts you'll ever see. Maybe up there with João Felix's one, where Felix did officially play well in that game, if you remember Chelsea, but then he got sent off. So the only thing Caicedo was missing was being sent off. And obviously he had that little prayer at the end. And to be honest, he needs everything he can on his side right now because that was so bad. And he's got so much pressure on him. You can tell he knows because he is technically, of all the players in history of the Premier League, he's the most expensive one in a league which has had so many. Henry, Ronaldo, all of them. It's him. He's him. And he's not beating him right now. And he's really got to live up to it. Because to be fair to Enzo, while he was the most expensive player, he held his own. Like, I have to rate Enzo. He's done really well. Plays well. He's just in a really bad system and club, team, to be honest. Yeah.
But yeah, I touched on, obviously, would have had to get sent off for it to be a bad debut. In terms of giving away a penalty in injury time where you're still in the game against arguably London, like West Ham 10 Chelsea men, right? Is quite
against 10 men.
Against 10 men. West Ham Chelsea is obviously quite a big rivalry. And he just I know obviously Sanchez could have saved the penalty or Paqueta could have missed it, but yeah, he didn't. So he was the one that threw the game for Chelsea. Anything else? Any major transfers or anything? Because that's the Premier League. Oh, actually, before we move on from the Premier League, Palace, Arsenal predictions.
Palace look good. Eze looks good. Vieira looks good. I would say Arsenal will. If Arsenal can come out of a win from Palace today, because I've seen teams struggle away from home, aka us and Chelsea, I would say that Arsenal are back in it again. It's the same old thing as last season where Arsenal will be up there for the title challenge. If they cannot, then maybe we might see a weaker Arsenal this year. But I do, thing is, like, for example, you've seen Gary Neville said Arsenal are going to win the league. I think they've improved. So I would really expect them to win today, but if they don't, I find that very interesting.
Okay, yeah, I'll say I'll go with 2-1 Arsenal win. I don't think it'll be plain sailing or as easy.
Yeah, Palace are no joke this year.
No, so. not any. Selhurst is a terrible stadium, may I add. I've been there a few times, but it's not. It can't be a nice place to go with as a player. Neither's the area, to be fair. So, but it's what it is. Any major transfers or anything, or that I've missed?
Transfers, not for Man United, and that's what I follow. Yeah, we're linked with a goalkeeper that
already,
as far as I'm aware. Yeah, we're linked with a goalkeeper who apparently we're going to go for, who is basically another De Gea in the sense that he doesn't play out from the back. And I know some actual people that watch Benfica for the whole of last year were saying that he needs to leave and Benfica will play out from the back. And now apparently we're in for him.
Was it Vlachodimos?
I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. His name is something like that, something as confusing as that. And I don't know why we're doing that, but hopefully we're not. Aside from that, Mason Greenwood, I don't know if you saw the statement,
Yeah,
but
I did. What? Yeah, I don't understand that. How much?
I don't want to upset Lagos, Nigeria by smiling while I say this, but Greenwood's not going to be playing for Man United. All I'm going to say is the day that news came through about Greenwood, 2021 February, I remember it very clearly. The notification popped up on my phone, and my phone lock screen was Greenwood. He was my favorite player, and I even tweeted about him winning the Ballon d'Or in 3 years. I rated him that much, and right now I could not be happier that he's not going to play for us. Just leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay, that statement was a mess. It was like, yes, he's admitted the wrongdoing and he's apologised for doing wrong, but he hasn't done anything wrong. Essentially, was what that statement was.
Yeah,
And then
I
the
think
ending was it was basically, well, we think he's fine, but we don't want the outrage, so it's your guys' fault, not ours, not Mason's. It's your fault for the reaction you're going to give us. So he's
I
going.
think it's odd. It was always going to be a mess, whatever the decision was going to be. So I'm just happy the outcome is him not playing for us. The other thing I would say is last week in their investigation they mentioned the word partial evidence, which is what really triggered people, saying, "Well, if that's the case, she shouldn't play." This today they've said there was the investigation concluded there was nothing wrong. So I don't know. It's really weird, isn't it, how they've gone about it? But at least the decision is made, because that was another thing. Delaying it was just not helping anyone. Probably not their family. Probably not anyone. So good the decisions.
The only thing is, I don't think he'll play in the country again. He certainly won't play for England again.
What if he's just banging them? What if he's scoring like? What if he goes to Nigeria and they take him in there because he'll be a hero there? He'll get a hero's welcome in the Nigerian league. What if he scores 80 goals or something like that in a season?
The England, look what happened with Ivan Toney and the whole thing coming up to the World Cup. As I said on the podcast earlier, Tony said himself he felt like it was all a bit of a mess, and it was he feels that someone was trying to get him out of the World Cup squad because of everything that was going on. And it's, as we said with managers before, the FA is very strict, and they've got one way of doing things, or I feel anyway, they've got one way of doing things, and they like yes men as managers, certainly obviously the England men's team. I don't think they'd give him a chance. I don't think there's a spot.
What would he need to do? I would actually pose this question
to... There's nothing.
Okay, no. I will pose this question to our viewers. And by the way, I'm not taking a side here. I'm just saying, what could Greenwood possibly do which would then allow him to play for England? Clearly, he's going to play football again. It's been made very obvious by United States statement. How many goals would he have to score in what league for him to be considered for England again? Because surely there comes a time where, let's say he scores, I'm just doing a hypothetical here, I'm not trying to piss people off, but let's say he goes into a league, scores 1,000 goals, he looks like the best player in the world, he's up for the Ballon d'Or a year later and from a Serie A team or something. Would you then consider him as England manager? He's the best player in the world.
Yeah.
By the way, this is pure hypothetical.
Yeah, but this is the argument, because before everything happened, the allegations or whatever, or the court case and everything was brought about, genuinely, he was probably one of the best young players.
He was
in the league, as much as maybe even the world. Do you know, like he was.
I'll be fair. I know there's one thing I saw that there was a bit of revisionism going on. I'm someone who doesn't want him back in the team, but I saw people say after this whole incident happened that he wasn't actually that good. He didn't have that much going for him except for the shot yet. But that's exactly what every footballer is. No teenager is the complete product, and he had a God-given talent with his left foot and his right foot. He was 2-footed. He had a shot. He just needed to work on a few other things, and he was there. I'm telling you, this guy was going to make it to the top.
He scored a couple of screamers against us. So I saw it myself. His
shot was, and his thing was going to be the low-driven shot. It was going to be ridiculous. It was going to be his characteristic trait. He was going to be famous for it. It's gone now. He's lost it, and he's at his own downfall. But
make your own bed to lay in it. The only thing I will touch on as well. Obviously, there's a couple. As I said, I don't think he'll play for the England national team or in England again. He can't go anywhere in England because he will get dogs abuse from every set of fans, even home fans. Like I don't think he could even fit in at like people that are notoriously like abusive.
Watch him join Newcastle, the Saudi institution now.
but for example, like I saw it touted with Saudi, so that also means because they can't release him. Man United at the end of the statement basically said we'll help him take his next step, obviously to clear their name and wash.
So I think he's still going to get paid and stuff, right?
That's what I'm saying. But for example, Al Nassr come in with a £50 million bid.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that money. We're so desperate.
Benefit massively from everything that's gone on. What are your thoughts?
But then, do you bid for a player that's? Do you bid 50 million for a player that's not playing? You know, it's so obvious. Like, why would you even bid 50?
Yeah, but it's Saudi.
We have compromised ourselves.
Throwing Saudi money. Throwing Saudi money about. Are you?
To be honest, I'd take 10 million as long as it's some money towards a new player.
Well, that's what I said. That's why I said 50, because 50 is probably enough to buy a majority of an Amrabat, or as you said, a replacement, or
yeah.
So would you? But then that means that player's coming in on the back of fans going, well, we got you from Greenwood. Do you know what I mean? It's not club earned money.
No.
Do you not?
We can't go this deep into it. We can't go this deep.
Do you not think? I think there'll be fans doing that. I'm not saying it.
What? That money will always stick.
Be,
Whenever we spend anything, it'll be like, oh.
Yeah, there's got to be some fans doing that. But as you said, it's
you're predicting the future here. Don't give people ideas, because they will do that. If we sell him for any level of money, that money will be thrown back in our face by rival fans forever.
Yeah, but it's just we can't. Your club can't.
To be fair, I think that's a stretch, because he is, at the end of the day, he is our asset, and who's not been charged. So at least we can sell him. Like, come on, man, don't do this.
I think the last thing I'm supposed to touch on is the
Women's World Cup.
Yeah, Women's World Cup final. Congratulations, Spain.
Hold it.
You got knocked out in the group stages, mate. That's all I'm saying. England get to another final, and yet again disappointment. Though, to be fair to them,
can I just say England and Ireland won 0 trophies at the World Cup this year? Same.
Actually, Mary Earp's got a Golden Glove, so we'll take that as a country. We'll take that as one trophy.
As a country,
we'll take that.
I'm sure her family will be happy.
But no, with the amount of injuries and stuff before the tournament started, semis at a push, even though as we are one of the bigger nations, to get to the final, it was great. Spain had a game plan, executed it perfectly. It's frustrating to watch because game management, if we were 1-0 up with 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes ago, we'd have been doing exactly the same thing. We see it in the Premier League, we see it in the men's game, and it's a part of football. It's game management. Spain had a game plan. I don't think we played poorly because Spain didn't let us play, I think is what it was. The only other kind of harsh thing is everything that happened with the Spain team last year. Obviously, with their whole manager, the Spanish FA decided to back him, and there's videos of them after the game celebrating with everyone on the team except from him, and the players obviously that didn't. Off the top of my head, I can't remember their names, but congratulations to them for sticking to their morals and not going away with the team. Obviously, missing out on the World Cup finals and now being a World Cup winner. But in terms of England, it would have meant we would have gone into the Olympics next year as world and European champions. Men or women's teams don't tend to do that. They don't tend to win, for example, Copa America and the World Cup. It's not done. It's not an easy thing to do. Get into a World Cup final, get into a European Championships final, and winning both of them going into the Olympics. So yeah, it is what it is. It's football. It's sport. It's hard, but
we've talked a lot about predators this podcast. There's one in the Spanish FA or wherever he is.
That's the manager.
Oh, is that the one who did the thing?
Oh, but the kiss. No, that's the president. That's the Yeah, they kissed.
There's just predators everywhere.
Yeah, I saw that.
Lock him up. Hurry up. Why is he still walking the streets of Spain?
Spanish football is obviously.
Imagine if that happened in England. I'm sorry.
Imagine if we would have won the Euros and that. Who was Prime Minister at the time? Was it Boris? Was it still Boris?
Boris, yeah.
Imagine if Boris would have done that to Kane. Had we have won the Euros, imagine if Boris had walked up to Kane and gave a big smooch on the lips. But
that's not on. And this classic Spain. I mean, Marcos Alonso is still a free man. Yeah. He's a murderer. But allegedly, I can't say that.
No, I think it is official. He just got away with it. I think. I don't know, but we'll stick with allegedly for sake of
legal. For the sake of
alleged.
Not pissing off people who like drink driving.
Yeah, but no, I think that's it for this week. We've got Arsenal Palace tonight, and then we've got it's Champions League qualification in the week, so not really anything that entertains us apart from Villa. I think Villa are playing. I think we've got our teams that are qualifying for Europe and stuff like that. But I think that's it. I think that wraps up this last week of football. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and until next weekend, see ya.